Hey there! Once upon a time there was a pen company called OMAS, and they made really nice pens with extremely fragile pistons, but their nibs were absolutely stellar. OMAS, let's just say, went under. The story is a bit more complicated than that, but another company, Armando Simoni Club, now known as the Pen Family, bought all the material, celluloids, etc. from OMAS. And recently, the Pen Family has decided to resuscitate the OMAS brand. I have here, borrowed from my main man Murray, one of their pens, so a more or less reproduced OMAS. This is the Ogiva Extra, so like an Ogiva, kind of cigar shaped, but girthier and a bit longer. That's the Extra. And this is, let's say, OMAS 2.0, a whole new type of company, whole new pen, but using some OMAS parts, and from what I understood, using actual OMAS nibs. And they do look a lot like OMAS nibs in shape. The feeds certainly look like OMAS feeds. Out of OMAS, by the way, came Scribo. Some of the ex-employees from OMAS started Scribo. They make those feeds and nibs too, so they have the same shape and etc. That's a different story. What we're going to be doing today is talk about the pen. I'll cover the parts of the pen, I'll do a writing sample, and I'll tell you what I like about it and what I don't like about it. Let's get started. Okay, let's talk about this OMAS Ogiva Extra. This is the Ogiva 222 edition, and this is number 84 of 222. Sorry for the strange angle, but otherwise I couldn't read the engraving in the light. We have here a limited edition of 222 pens, hence Ogiva 222. It's made by the Pen Family, and they say they use original OMAS nibs and ebonite feeds. It certainly looks like OMAS nibs and feeds. I don't have an original OMAS here to show you. Actually, I do, but I forgot to grab it. A sip of tea. It does really look like the original product as the nib and feed. The MSRP for these is $895 US. If you are an ASC Club member, then you actually get them typically with a 10% discount through the ASC website. And my fingers are riddled with ink, not because of this pen, but a previous accident. So let's talk about this pen. I don't have the box to show you, which always makes this part of the video a little shorter, but I'll do my best to make it interesting anyway. Here we have the pen right next to a Pilot Metropolitan, and as you can see, this is a larger pen, right? It's fairly girthy and it's fairly long, and that's pretty much all there's to it. It's a very nice blue saffron celluloid. The saffron is the really nice sort of orangey brown, and then the blue highlights I think are very nice. Very nice polishing. It does look very shiny and very attractive. Okay, let's look at the different parts of the pen. So I'm just figuring something out here. I'm sorry, I got more ink all over myself. That's okay. What you see is what you get with B.R.E. Brown. Okay, let's start at the top of the pen. So here we have finial, same material as the rest of the cap. I think that looks really nice. And now we have the little OMAS style clip with the little wheel. It works pretty well. It's not too tight. It works really nicely. We have here a center band, a gold colored ring, and then a center band, and the center band says OMAS in the, it looks like the original font. It says Italy, and then we have this Greek key pattern that Armando Simoni Club uses a lot, and frankly that I quite like. There's a slight taper to this ring, which I don't know if you can see that, but it looks quite nice. And what I really like is that this center band is metal and it protects the celluloid from cracking. I really like it when pen makers do that, because celluloid can crack. There is stress on the cap because of the threads when you close it, and a metal band can really help prevent that cracking. We have the barrel. The barrel has a blind engraving, which is hard to see. You can hardly see, but it is there, right? And it says OMAS Ogiva, quotation marks, 222 edition, and this again is number 84 out of 222. So we have that. Here we have the piston turning knob, which is what the name suggests. It allows you to turn the piston so you can fill the pen. I do really like it. Okay, section, long, right? Tapers down, flares out. We have another band here, which says OMAS Italy, and then more Greek keys. We have the threads. We have quite a bit of a step down, but with such a long section, I felt that I don't really notice it as I write. As you can see, my fingers are well away from that step down. Tapers down, flares out in section. Then we have the OMAS nib, and it just says OMAS 750 18K. It really looks exactly like what the OMAS nibs look like, with the fletching and then the arrow on top of the nib, which I always thought was very attractive. And then we have the ebonite feed. This pen does not really post. If you put the cap on, it's kind of wobbly and it falls off. But as I said, it's a larger pen. I don't think you really need to post this. I find it quite comfortable posted. Let's see what we can do with writing. We have, an OMAS. This is getting really low on ink. It was fine just now. Okay, Ogiva extra. This is the, what did I say, medium? I forget what I said. I thought it was medium nib, and the ink, I don't know. Now, just gonna operate the piston here, because this is, again, it was writing just before this review. Take this with a grain of salt because it's running dry, but it's a very pleasant writer. I know it looks very dry. That's because there's almost no ink left. We're running on fumes. I've been using this for a couple of days now, and I will say it's a very nice wet writer. So don't let the writing sample fool you, is what I'm trying to say. Like I said, wet, line variation. OMAS nibs tend to be soft. It's not my pen. I don't want to spring it. I'm not going to push it any farther than that. But what I will say is gentle, gentle, and you can definitely squeeze out some line variation. For those of you who enjoy such a thing, reverse writing is possible. It's not really scratchy, and you can definitely get out some words. I feel that, again, we're running dry here, but you can definitely use some reverse writing. Very pleasant pen, very pleasant to use, especially when there's ink in it. I am sorry, but I think it was just enough to do this. The writing is pleasant, the writing is wet. Really nice pen. Let's talk about likes and dislikes. What do I like and what do I not like about the OMAS Ogiva Extra? There are a couple of things I really like. It feels solid. ASC, pen family, often use brass liners, and I feel that I've done that here because it feels heavier than it should be, given that it's made of celluloid. I quite like that because I like that heft. However, OMAS, as far as I can remember, did not use those brass liners, at least not on all their pens, so those pens were lighter. And so if you're looking for that kind of stuff, then be aware that this is a little bit of a different experience. It's a very nice writer. The nib is very nice, and if it truly is an OMAS nib, I could see that it is, because the OMAS nibs were really, really nice. A little soft often, but very nice, very pleasant writers. Ebonite feeds, I mean, that's already nice. And that, of course, is another pro in this pen. Ebonite feed is always nice. Very good flow characteristics. Makes for a nice writer. So I really like that. Then we have some cons. I think really the biggest con that I have is one of philosophy. It's not about the pen. I think the pen works. I think the step down is there, but it seems to be a little beveled. Yeah, it is, which makes it not sharp. The threads are not sharp. The section is nice. The pen is solid because of the liner. The nib is nice. They're not cheap at $8.95 US, but then as pen family pens go, that is not the worst I've seen. Some of them are 2,000 and upwards. The issue for me is more so, but it's not OMAS. And I'm not sure, I'm going to be very frank, I'm not sure that I really care. But I know that there are people in the pen community who do and say, okay, but this is not OMAS, this is the brand OMAS, but it's no longer true OMAS. And we've seen this with a lot of different pen companies. You see it with Tibaldi. Tibaldi went under in 1965. They were resuscitated more recently. You see, I'm not saying they're worse pens now than they used to be, but it is Tibaldi 2.0. You've seen this with Conway Stewart, which was Conway Stewart, went under, British Bespoke Pens, then Conway Stewart again. And there was also Conway Stewart from the pen family, is also an interesting story. In any case, all I'm trying to get at, I'm not accusing anyone of anything, all I'm trying to get at is it's no longer the brand it used to be because it is a different owner, because it is different pens. That was a terrible sentence, because they are different pens. They're different. And some people who are purists will object to that and will say, yeah, but it's not OMAS. I'm an OMAS collector, this is not OMAS. And I understand that viewpoint. I do. I get it. What I see here is a nicely made modern pen. And from that perspective, I really don't object. But I understand that there are people who do. Now, I think I've driven that point home, so I will now abandon this point, and I'll just say I think it's a nice pen. I know it's not cheap. I think it feels well made to me. It writes nicely. There we have it. So, I hope this was useful. Let me know what you think about the OMAS versus OMAS 2.0 debate in the comments. I really like to read that. And that's all there is to it. Thank you to Murray for lending me the pen. In Dutch we only have one word for borrowing and lending. It's the same word. It's very confusing. Sorry, sometimes I mess it up. Hope this was useful. And I'm glad to see you later.